Hello and welcome to another RTK video. Today we will be covering the Warriors of Chaos faction tier list. I will be your host today, Renataki, and I'm joined by the rest of our warband with Charix, who you already know,
Hello, hello.
and X-Navigator.
Hello, hello.
If you like this style of video, be sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content. With all that covered, I'll let Charix explain the tiers.
All right. So you got S tier. S tier are the units that are the very core of the faction, the very best unit that you bring basically all the time, pay for themselves basically all the time, and the units that you basically want all the time. A tier are all very strong units. You bring them very often. They're not just as strong as the S tier units, but are also very important for a roster. B tier are the fine units, units that you can bring quite often, and they will do just okay. C tier are the units that you should probably avoid, but they still have their niche uses. And the D tier are the units that you should definitely avoid.
With all that covered, let's jump into the actual units. So we'll go in order. We'll go Charix, Navi, myself, with just the start of the actual description of the unit and what it does, and then we'll all basically give our thoughts when it comes to the unit and in which category it should go with. So let's start off with our boy Eacold.
Alright. Eacold is a D tier, very unfortunately. He's a hero. He's an expensive hero. He's a food hero. And just these factors make him D tier. And also he takes one of our 5 marks for the god-specific units that we can bring. And it is just not worth it, unfortunately.
Yeah, the way that just the amount of expense that he brings into it and also consumes a mark is just super not worth it for myself.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, if nothing to add, what do we do with the Chaos Lord?
I think the Chaos Lord is D tier. Unfortunately, Warriors of Chaos have way too many good options for Lords. If you look at the roster right now, you have Archeon, Valkia, Village, etc. He's just outclassed, and you should never basically bring him.
For me, this guy is just as a marked unit. Like you basically never bring him as just the Chaos Lord. But if you put him as Tzeentch, he is kind of unkillable, is a very good fighter, gains anti-large, and I would at least put him into niche myself, but I am overruled with the warband basically putting him in deep. So we'll leave him in the gutter for now, but trust me, I have some builds that he works in. And for our boy Archeon, Archeon is basically your go-to lord. So we do put him in S. He has such diverse magic that he is just an auto pick in most matchups. He is one of the best fighters that you have on the roster. He is relatively snipeable, which is his one downside. Like if somebody brings, let's say, a Spirit Leech caster and just goes in for sniping Archeon for the entire game, he does cost a lot, like 2.3k with his regular 2 spells and crown, as well as a horse. But yeah, he definitely is one of the best heroes that you can bring.
Extremely powerful character, amazing spells. Pretty much the best spells in the game of each lord that he has. The Burning Head, the Searing Dome, the Spirit Leech. Aura ITP item, Slayer of Kings is also extremely good if you want him to snipe anything. He doesn't have healing, so as you said, Spirit Leech can affect him and any of these kind of snipe attempts, but he still has over 7k HP, so it's not like he's easy to snipe. Extremely good S tier for sure.
Definitely.
Great. The one thing about the Spirit Leech, you can always bring a Nagelcaster in the backup, and if they go for the snipe, you pop a Fleshy Abundance, and he's back at full HP.
Yeah, definitely. If you're like super afraid of him getting sniped, that is a tech that you do with him and another lord that we will cover in a bit. So next up, we have Siggy, Siggy D.
Sigvald. He's very tanky lord. He's healing. He's quite cheap. He's just alright, and just alright is just a B tier for him.
Yeah.
If you expect your lords to go into a blob or a box formation or anything, and you just do not want him sniped, it is the guy for you. There's no way your opponent is killing him. And he's a good fighter. Like, he can fight off a dragon if a dragon lands on him for some reason. So he is just okay. He doesn't do too much because most people just avoid him for a good reason. He's okay.
Agreed. He does one thing good, one thing well, and that is not dying. And that's why you bring him, and that's it.
Yeah, silver shield, very tanky, heals. The only thing that I'm very sad about him is that he doesn't have any neither armor piercing nor magic damage base. If they were to give him that, he would be a much better lord, honestly. Next up, we have Valkia. Where does Valkia go?
Okay, Valkia is also B tier, similar to Sigvald. Like, she's very tanky. What she does have more is she's flying, and basically you can use her to screen other flying tools like Changebringers or anything really. But other than that, she doesn't do much. She does have her spear, which can clear infantry, but mainly you bring her to zone out the enemy flying units, or dive maybe something very deep in enemy lines. That's about it.
Completely agree. Yeah, relatively. So she's not the cheapest of your options, but she definitely is the zone, anti-zone. Anti-changebringers is like the main thing that you zone with her. Potentially even going into like Wood Elf Flying Lord or maybe Chaos Dwarf Flying Lord as well, just so that she can hunt him with Demon Shield and so on. But yeah.
Yeah, flying tanky lord, with quite expensive with no heals, but can do really good damage, especially when you expect to be in air kited.
Nice. So next up we have Village. So Village is quite the underrated lord, at least in our thoughts, just because he is so cheap. He is a caster lord, and he has so much HP with an extra 1k in his barrier. So for us, he goes definitely into A tier. He also has very good spells with both Pink Fire and Tzeentch's Firestorm. Tzeentch's Firestorm basically being the ability that can completely delete anything that it touches. And yeah, he's just an all-around good pick that if you want a cheap caster lord that is probably not going to be sniped, and even if he is sniped, you can actually bring him back because he's so cheap.
Agreed. If you just want to go cheap and have a good magic, you go for the guy. He costs like 1k, and with Tzeentch magic that is extremely good that he has, he pays for himself really easily just with his magic, and he's also a pretty nice fighter.
Agreed. He's like Sigvald with magic.
Yeah.
And so he's one tier higher, basically.
Definitely, definitely. So next up, we have our boy Kolek.
Kolek, he's a S tier. The guy is not so good. He's extremely big. He can be easily shot. He's still extremely powerful when he's actually fighting something. He's got a lot of weapon strength. He's got some nice abilities that do damage, but he's extremely big and expensive, which is just not too good in the domination mode.
Yeah, great. Also, he usually locks you into Negglecaster for healing, because Kolek without healing is even worse. But he's a very cool unit, so you bring him just because of how cool he is.
That's true. We just pop his what is it, Star Crusher, and then have infinite hitting power, but you get shot and you instantly die, unfortunately.
Yeah, when you bring him, you really rely your gameplay onto him, and with all that money invested into one big piece, it is just not worth it usually.
Next up, Chaos Sorcerer Lord.
The Sorcerer Lord is actually A tier. He's
I think it's the hero.
Oh, this is the hero? Oh, this is a Chaos Sorcerer. Okay. Oh, right. The Sorcerer Lord is a bit far down. Yeah. Next one.
Okay. I mean, the Sorcerer is very good. Like, you can bring all the Chaos magics on him. You can bring him as a flying chariot. If you go for a fighter lord like Kolek or Archeon even, you can bring him with Nurgle magic for healing, Tzeentch magic for sniping, stuff like that.
Yeah, whenever you go with a lord that isn't a caster, You just auto take him to cover that spell, and he has such diversity in having all of the normal magics as well as all of the marked magic. So the diversity, and he's also not the crazy expensive, and he also has just, for example, a good tech with him is the Balefire Amulet, right? If you take him with the Balefire Amulet and you're lacking magic damage in your army, you can just give everything magic damage and flame magic, for example. Flame attacks, pardon.
Yeah, the overall walk Lures of Magic are amazing because you can mark the sorcerer hero and have all the great magics. There are the Zinch, the Nurgle, even the Stanish one that is not so great. But all the basic lures that walk have are amazing. And also the guy is armored and hard to snipe on his own, so like he's not S tier only because we usually want a caster lord as Warriors of Chaos.
Exactly. So next up we have the Chaos Sorcerer Lord, the actual Chaos Sorcerer Lord. So for him, we're putting him definitely into S tier. If you are going for a lord that is a caster, this guy is extremely cheap. You can bring him on a multitude of different types of mounts. He can go on a manticore, he can just go on horse. You can even bring him on foot if you're like super afraid of getting sniped. You get all of the good lores. You get on the basic one, you also get Tormentor Sword, which is crazy. So that he has some anti-snipe from stuff like Cav that is going to be chasing him. And you can also mark him if need be to get any of the other lores of magic as well. So just a cheap, all-around good lord that also has the option to become, let's say, a terror piece. And for example, if you're taking a terror piece lord, which is like either Kolek or somebody, you can just take this guy for 1,000 cheaper or like 800 cheaper and so on.
Yeah, he's amazing. Manticore Stone is amazing. Tormentor Sword is great. Lures of Magic are great. He also gives ITP aura, so you don't have to go for Archaeon to have ITP on your trolls, which is great.
Very true.
Okay.
So next up, we got Festus. Where does Festus go? Our big green
Festus is really good in blob fights, and that's pretty much it. He's got his nice aura of heals. He's got his nice aura of Mortis. You bring him in specific cases when you really expect that blob. He's squishy. He can relatively easy die both into missiles, even though he's a small character, and in melee especially. Nurgle magic is good, as I said, or the aura stuff is good, but it is not amazing. You still pay a mark, and he's a C tier, just as you put him.
Like I agree, he's very squishy and very slow, so that's why you don't want him usually. But if you can get him in combat and get a lot of value from his auras, he's like amazing, like one of the best.
Yeah,
it's hard to do so.
Famously, like his main matchup is like into vampire counts if you go with like Chaos Warriors or Chosen of Khorne and stuff, just so that he can heal something. But agreed, like anything that flies and has some mass is just instantly going to bully him, which is sad. Like our Nurgle boy just needs to grow some bigger legs and be a bit faster. Other than that, next up we have Be'lakor.
Okay. Be'lakor is like a one-man army, but he's so expensive. He has a shadow magic, which is amazing. He has damage reduction spells, which makes him an absolute raid boss and can duel everyone. But the cost is just way too high, and he's just not worth bringing usually. So C tier. Yeah, I wish he was cheaper, and he would be meta, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's pretty much Kolek. Like he on his own costs as much as Kolek and Nurgle caster invested into him. He has his niches. That's why he's a C tier. So like when you really want to route stuff, he's extremely good. He removes ITP. But as you said, he's extremely expensive. He costs like almost 4K with all the kit that we want on him.
Yeah, absolutely crazy expensive. The comparison that I always do, if you want a shadow caster that has terror, you just bring a normal Chaos Sorcerer Lord on a Manticore, right? And then you like save 1.5k gold or even more with it, and you like gain Torment or Sword for it. Just not worth it, just because of the cost. Otherwise, great unit.
Yep.
Next up, we have Azazel. So, Azazel has Slanesh magic, and Slanesh magic can be good, but is like you have such good options on walk that it isn't the best, at least in my opinion. He is a small target, which makes him a nice flying lord that you get, and he does also cause terror, which is also nice. So he goes into B and not C, just because you can take him in more matchups than, for example, like Festus, Bellicor, and similar stuff, just because of the terror, the small unit, the relatively good fighter as well, and yeah, just a solid, okay unit.
Personally, I think he's even better. I would put him in A tier, but I got overruled. He has amazing magic, Slanesh. I guess it's not the best in this roster. You have better options like Nurgle and Zins. But as a fighter, he's amazing. His cost is not too high. But yeah, I guess we put him in B tier.
His cost is actually quite high.
It
It is like around 2k with all the kit that you want. He can be amazing with all the leadership debuffs that he has. And as you said, he's a really good fighter. But he can be very easily be Spirit Leech to death. And when you play against Walk and you expect like Archie, you already bring Spirit Leech. And that is even a better target for this spell. He can be great, but he can be just so not too good for his price. And that's why he's just like, okay.
Completely agree. Yeah, price definitely a stickler for a small unit that flies that has 2 spells.
I mean, if you bring him like with only 1 spell, he's 1750, right? So that's not too bad.
True.
It's what I usually go for.
All right. Next up, we got the chicken. The chicken is S tier. It is absolutely amazing lord. One of the best in the roster. One of the pretty much best lords that we have overall. Like in the game, it's extremely powerful. Metal magic is really good. It is an amazing fighter, unlike Kairos is in Zinj. Sartorial has got really great stats. He's got really nice item, the Rock of Unavailability or something like that, that debuffs everything around him. The debuff is really substantial. He's got the Greater Arcane Conduit, so all the final transmutations that you want. If you want to go for them, you go for this guy, and you really never regret it. Also, if you expect your lord to be drowned by Spirit Leech or anything like that, you go for him as well, because he's got the Zinj barrier that pretty much negates any kind of overtime spell damage.
You basically covered everything for him, and he covers everything in our roster. Like, just an amazing hero. Terror, great fighter, great magic, Greater Arcane Conduit, Rock of Inevitability, I believe it's called, and also flies. Just an all-round best unit on the roster.
Agreed. Very, very good.
Next up, we got Daniel. Where does Daniel go?
Daniel. Okay, Daniel goes in C tier. Honestly, borderline D, because I mean he has all the good magics, but he's a demon. He has no armor, and he's very snipeable. As we said, similar with Azazel and Archeon, Spirit Leech is a problem. But overall he's a good unit, so I guess C tier.
Yeah, when I was starting out, I was exploring with Daniel because I wanted something that flies but also like casts magic. And then I discovered that you can just bring a sorcerer lord and be like even less expensive. He's a demon. He can disintegrate. Just, yeah. Also, if you mark him, most of them have some good spells, but not the best like combination of spells. So it just kind of makes it awkward. The versions of the Daniel in let's say Demons of Chaos are much better, because then you have specialists with like just much better spells too. Like all around, just normal Daniel isn't the best.
I have not played this guy, so I don't even have knowledge if you can go for the god specific demon princess on him, can you?
No,
You
you
can-
can't. You can't. You can make them marked, but it's not going to be like Zervik or Bubonus or whatever they're called in doc. They're gonna just be generic versions of it.
Yeah, so they will not have all the cool abilities like the Zinch net that could be
No.
useful.
No.
Yeah,
Should we
so
put him in D?
I would, with that in mind, I would even consider putting him in D tier.
Yep. Completely overclassed, outclassed by everything else. Next up, who is in? This is the Chaos, just a normal Exalted Hero, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Exalted Hero. So Exalted Hero is actually just relatively okay. He depends really on what you mark him as. And let's say Turin, for example, really likes the Exalted Hero as a Nurgle on a chariot because he's just relatively tanky. He goes through, he applies poison, good armor piercing on him. He's also very good as Zinch, just as marked. Like when you're taking just a normal one, you can take also just a normal one on foot, and you have the Doom Totem, I think it's called, which is a leadership bomb. So if you're going for like a leadership bomb strategy with, let's say, a Hell Cannon, him, and then a Lord or any unit like a Manticore that applies terror, you do have options with terror bombing with him. So he's okay, but again, just not the best. So he goes in B.
Yeah, you can go for the Zinch Exalted on a chariot too, and like it would be good. You can go for I'm not sure if the basic one has it, but or the Slanesh marked Exalted Hero, but if you just go on foot with the debuff, that I don't even remember what it had exactly, but it was pretty fine for the cost. Really tanky, consistent capture rate. You can go more expensive for it, and it can pay for itself. So like, it is okay.
Yeah, this unit does what it's supposed to do and not much more. So,
yep,
pretty good in B.
Next up, we got Striker.
Striker, the hero that everybody hated, and I'm pretty sure everybody hates him still. The ability that he has is still extremely good. He's not too cheap, but in some matchups it is just such a pain in the ass. I'm not sure if he isn't A tier just because of that.
Yeah, Sign of Depravity is so oppressive. Yeah, but go ahead, Navi.
Yeah, I used him before patch. I used him a lot, and honestly, he was an auto take before nerfs, in my opinion. But I haven't used him after the patch, so I can't say much about his new ability. If it's still good, as Zarik says, then I think we could put him in A even. Like this guy was very, very strong.
Yeah, I think he's right now he's okay because the Sign of Depravity got nerfed a bit, but previously it was so freaking oppressive. You just put him in a blob, and then let's say you're playing against, let's say, Bretonia or something like Bretonia. You have one peasant that routes, the entire blob can't move, and you just continue farming with like Hellstriders applying poison, other units just casting spells, Searing Dooms, and so on. So I absolutely love him. Also into low leadership factions. I've, for example, used them after the patch as a goon squad with Archie. Basically, the two of them go into any blob, route something that is cheap, and then you come in with, let's say, a troll and a Forsaken, and nothing can run away, and you insta win the fight. So good. The only downside is that he is expensive, so I would keep him in B compared to A, just because you don't take him as often and into all matchups.
That's fine.
Next up, we got Harry the Hammer. Where does Harry go?
Harry the Hammer has one job, and his job is to route zombies and undead. But that is usually not really needed. So I think it's just D tier. Yeah, he's just an expensive hero whose niche is not really needed. And that's about it. I don't know. I think it's just bad.
Yeah, he is expensive. He's got this nice thing against undead, and I have had some fun games in this area. But he is just a food character that is expensive, pretty much the same case as a cult. just with that he can be okay-ish versus undead, but still is just usually not worth it.
Yeah, just too expensive for what he does. If he was a bit cheaper, like 300 gold, maybe more cheaper, he would go okay into, let's say, Tomb Kings or something like that. But
yeah, definitely.
yeah. Next up, we got Scylla and Fingrim. And so Scylla is a Mortis engine, does have Rampage, and is sometimes taken just for the like Rampage thing and the Mortis engine, but you just got better options for the cost. So Scylla also goes into D. If you want the Mortis engine, just take a Mutilate Beast. If you want a good fighter, just take anything else. Just the monkey is not the best.
Yeah, it would be nice, maybe for its Rampage, but the cost and the fact that it takes a mark is just too much.
Yeah, agreed. Too much cost.
We can
Alright.
we can group up all of our boys, all of our horsemen boys into one group and just comment on them. So, what do you say about the horsemen?
They are S tier, and there's pretty much not too much to discuss about them. I am not sure about the throwing axis just because of how much I do love the Javelin version and the fact that we have metal magic on the roster to use pretty often. So the axe throwers with also their slower projectile velocity, I feel like are not just as good. I feel like they would be A tier, but the Javelins are definitely OS. It is your primary air counter, it is your primary kite tool, it is one of your primary source of capture rate on the battlefield. They're very cheap and very powerful for what they do. And you just basically want them in every single matchup. Or to shoot an SC, to shoot a cav unit, to skirmish your opponent at the start of the game. Very, very strong.
Agreed. They have really good damage per cost. Like the damage is insane. They only have low range, which is the one downside they have, but overall it's a must-have unit in every matchup. One of the best. And I will agree with the throwing axes. They could be A tier. I think they're a bit worse than the others, but they're still like very, very good. Overall, we could put them in S. Is fine.
Yeah, for the throwing axes, I still think just into SCs they're just superior because you don't want to. For example, let's say into greenskins or something, you bring in Archie. You're not taking Plague of Rust, so getting like throwing axes out in the field as just a cheap armor piercing, super accurate thing that can, let's say, kill anything that's big, and or fight even the cav that is armored. I feel like they're still good. They're like still good, especially for like just a 50 upgrade from like the normal javelins. Just so good.
Yeah, but like they have smaller range, and the Javelin DPS against armor is even without Plague of Rust is not that bad. I would see them in A, but if you guys think they're S, we shall leave them there.
No, we can downgrade them to A. That is totally fine. But I completely agree that these two guys are really, really strong. Really.
Yeah, the Horsemasters also. We pay 250 extra for them, but if you plan to play on the mobility even slightly more than just a horse skirm summon and reinforcements, they're just so worth it. They have quite good stats to be a melee cav after they used all their ammo, which is really, really good. They have 50 armor, which makes them pretty durable, especially in comparison to their weaker version, and they have more range. So even the range is not their problem. That is for the cheaper guys.
Yeah. I feel like the Horsemaster just having the difference in leadership is one of the bigger things because they can then countercharge dogs or something that's trying to hunt them compared to, let's say, just the normal javelins that can't really do that or keep you in a sustained fight. That's
very true. That's also where all the stats and armor come into help.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Horsemasters are worth it. They're better in every way over the normal ones.
Next up, a very funny unit, a Slaanesh Chariot.
Honestly, I kind of like this unit. Unfortunately, it costs a mark, and you really don't want a mark on this unit. So D tier, I wish it didn't cost a mark. I would bring it all the time. But yeah.
They look so freaking goofy, man. But yeah, there's no way that you actually spend the mark and use them.
No, you would rather have like a normal unmarked chariot or a Gorbist chariot. It's a much better option.
Yeah, the Zinch chariot that is for Norska and for Zinch is amazing, but this one is unfortunately not. It goes into D tier.
Yep. Next up, we got Severed Claw. So, Severed Claw, just an okay unit. Like, they are they're low model, anti-large, super specialists. They got very high HP pool. They're aspiring champions, basically with just halberds. And yeah, they go into B. You can just basically summon them in, put them on an objective, and as long as they're not fighting something that is armor piercing and like has super many models, like let's say a red crested skink or something that can just super up trade into them, they're gonna do totally fine. And anything that is big that comes close to them is going to die.
Yeah, very high DPS. You're, as you said, aspiring champions with hubs. They also got the barrier. So even though they have no shields, it is impossible to kill them from distance, basically. You put them on a point next to your unit that is like scared of being sniped by large, like Festus. And there is no way Festus is getting sniped where these guys are around. Their DPS is amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Monster unit, their problem is that they're very, very slow. Otherwise, they would be much higher on the tier list.
Perfect. So now we can group up the little three guys that are just normal versions of the marked units. So let's go with warriors.
Okay, all of them?
Yeah.
All of them should go in DTR. They're simply not worth the mark. They're all good units. Unfortunately, you need to spend your marks elsewhere, so you never bring them ever. And that's about it for them.
Yeah, if somehow you really lack a mark, I mean, you can spend an extra 100 gold on them, but you have only 5 units of marked units that you can bring, and it is not a lot, and you feel this basically every single time, and that's the only reason what they're the D tier.
It's so sad that you have to pay a mark to get a spearman unit that is cheap, and that halberds on our roster are just so expensive. If they were to fix that, I would be very happy. But yeah, just with them taking a mark, it's just so not worth it. And next up, I'll group up the Chaos Warriors and the Chosen of Khorne. So when it comes to these guys, they are niche, just because they are super high DPS. You do take them in certain matchups, let's say like Counts, as we talked about with Festus, as just like infinite killing power for zombies. And they will, as long as you have some sort of healing, it is just a good unit in that specific matchup. Otherwise, you also get the benefits of a Khorne mark, which means that they're 35% spell resistance compared to other units, but it's just a niche unit, and you generally don't want to spend a mark on stuff that is infantry if you cannot.
Yeah, completely agreed. There are some matchups where this very heavy melee power is needed, like against vampire accounts, but you really do not bring them this often, and if you would like to bring them more often, they will get kited. They're slow, they're expensive.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, okay. We could also do these Chosen as well with them, the Hell Scourges. Hell Scourges basically go into the same tier. You really don't want to spend a mark on them. They're a great unit, like super high melee defense, but you just don't want them. There's anything special with them.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are the opposite. They're super tanky instead of damage. So they could have, like... But yeah, you generally don't want to bring them.
Next up, we got Bilibus Thundergluff, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, this guy is garbage, unfortunately. Again, it's pretty much the same case as it is with the Marauders. If you want a giant, you go for a giant, and the basic giant just does the job. that a giant needs to do. And there's no reason to pay a mark and extra money for this guy.
Yeah,
agreed.
nothing more to add. He's just garbage.
Yeah.
Next up, War Shrine.
The War Shrine. Apparently we have it in C tier. I think it should be D. Sure, you can bring like more dissenting effects or the healing effect from Nergly or the magic effect from Zinj. I just don't see it being very useful. And the non-marked version is also completely useless, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, non-marked
So-
is complete garbage. But
I just don't see a way why you would ever bring this.
no, you only bring it as like Zinch and as Korn if you're like Chosen or Berserk, right? They do love their War Shrines. They sometimes bring them too. But
I think the War Shrine is D on its own.
yeah,
As you said, it is nice as Zinch, but when you go for a Zinch War Shrine, you go for a sorcerer, and you put the sorcerer on a War Shrine,
Yep.
and you mark him as Zinch, and then it works out. There's no need to pay extra money for War Shrine on its own.
yeah. Also to clarify why you do that is because of Skull of Catan, right?
Yeah, Skull of Catan, extremely powerful item too.
Yep. Next up, we got the ROR Skull Crushers. So, when it comes to these guys, the Knights of the Brazen Throne, these guys are just a okay unit. They are the downside of them is that they cost so much. So if you're bringing them, you need to make them pay for themselves. But they do have the Murderous Charge, which is basically a punt everything that is in front of you that isn't heavy. And they just, if you ever seen Knights of the Brazen Throne go through something like Skinks or something like Dwarves, you're gonna have a very satisfying time. But other than that, you need to babysit them. So that is why they aren't, for example, A tier compared to B. They're okay, but you do need some setup for them to be like very, very good.
Yeah, they can be extremely powerful, but they can also be extremely painfully countered. Even when it's like against Skaven. If the Skaven player is smart and will slow them down with something and just make their first initial charge bad, there is basically no way that you will get another charge good enough for them to pay for themselves and make your opponent unable to counter them. Like when they will be surrounded by armor piercing stuff that is anti-large, they will die and they cost a lot. So like they either do amazing work, they do over 2k value and they win you the game, or they do not too much and lose you the game, or are at least really not helping you to win it.
I would personally put them in A tier, to be honest. But you are right; they're a bully unit. If you don't take care of them, they will die quickly. But if you do take care of them, they're a world beater. They can clear infinite amount of infantry. Like no matter what it is, it could be Chosen, it could be anything. One charge will demolish everything. Also, they will beat anti-large cavalry on the charge, but you need to make sure that you get that charge. And yeah, it can be tricky for sure. Have them get their value back, but yeah, very good unit in my opinion.
I'll also cover the Skull Crushers, the normal ones, since they're kind of a similar role unit. We also put them as well in B tier. When it comes to the Skull Crushers, the anti-large Skull Crushers, they're a great unit, but they're just a bit overshined by the ROR. You just pay a bit more extra, and then you get the Knights of the Brazen Throne actually perform better into large targets than the actual Skull Crushers, just because of the mass charge and the bonuses that they get from it. And the extra stats that they get from the ROR is just a better unit. But Skull Crushers also are very good. If you need something big dead, they are your goat unit to do that.
Yeah, armored, shielded, powerful. Your main anti-cav option. Basically, they're expensive. They're not too fast. they punch hard, basically the same as the RR, but cheaper and shielded. Not as good against infantry, but still with their mass and good charge bonus, they can still be good into anything when they get their charge.
What we forgot to mention is that they are a core unit, so you don't have to worry about Buna or Melgoth or spells like that.
So
35% mass resist.
Charex, what do you think about Cox?
I love Cox.
Heard it here first, folks.
No, it was a joke. It was a joke. It is D tier. Unfortunately, the unit is not too good. When it first came out, I was really glad to see it. I was like, it is going to be the Zinch Phoenix that the high elves have, but it is. I still can't believe how wrong this statement was. The unit doesn't basically do damage on its own. It has got the nice slow that is basically a net overtime, but it is only one use. And even when you slow down a unit that will allow the cockatrice to catch it, it will most likely not finish the guy. I have had a game recently when I netted like a Slaanesh Sorcerer Lord on a horse. I landed a cockatrice on it, and after 2 minutes of fighting, I realized that my cockatrice started to lose the fight. So like, yeah, it is not too good.
Yeah, you would rather bring any other flying unit like a Manticore is 10 times better than a cock.
Yeah. Okay, next up we got the Muty Boys. Mutilate Beasts.
Okay. I mean, we have the normal one on C tier and the ROR on B tier. I think they're an amazing unit. If it was up to me, I would bump up both of them 1 tier up. But generally what they do is they have a Mortis engine. That's why you bring them. They're great anti-infantry fighters. They can fight the siege if they have to. But they're very squishy. They can be shot down. And they're very, very expensive and slow. So a high risk unit for sure. The reason the ROR is higher is because of its ability. It's basically a Melkoth, AoE Melkoth that can hit multiple units, and you have 3 charges. So if you expect like a skirmisher core or a cavalry core, they can be amazing, and they're also amazing in blob fights.
Yeah. Muty, basically the Maelstrom of Change is a chain ability that goes onto 5 units at most and just does a bunch of damage. So you take it into, let's say, anytime that you're afraid of skirmishing or wants to blob fight, you just take one of the muties. And for 400 extra, the extra stats and the ability just pays for the extra 400, honestly. It usually gets even more. So it's just so worth it to upgrade to Aeson.
Yeah, the thing with the Mutal Vortex Beast is it is a squishy big monster, as you said, and we want to get value from it as quickly as possible. And 3 times 10 second Buna, because that's basically the damage that it does.
Yeah.
Really helps us out in it.
Yep, pretty much said it all. So for the Rot Knights, so we have the Rot Knights a bit separated. We have the ROR, the Rotting Riders in A, and the normal Rotting, just Rot Knights in B. The difference is basically the stats of the unit is just so good. And if you bring the Rotting Knights, the Rotting Riders, you just want them to carry your entire game. The upgrade is definitely worth it. They have healing, they have regen. They're insane fighters with big anti-large, big melee defense. They are armored. They're just going to carry you the game. The downside is that you can't throw them in certain matchups, so you have to be a bit careful with how you micro them. The difference between them and, for example, the Skull Crushers is that they're such a good specialist unit that even if they take some damage with the regen, we feel like it is so much worth it to just have them on your army.
Yeah, they're very tanky. Like, their advantage over the Skull Crushers is that they're so much tankier. What I find is that they're not very good against infantry, but overall, if you put them in the right fight, they will carry the game for you. And you don't really have to worry about them too much because of the region.
Yeah, tanky clean on their own, very powerful versus large stuff. Not as much against infantry. Like the corn cavalries, they also do not have shields, so they can potentially be sniped by like waywaters or something like that. But when you just don't throw them away easily, they do not die easily just by fighting in melee. I am still very often surprised by how well they handle even a quote unquote bad engagement on mobility.
Yeah. The very high melee defense and the poison really help a lot with those grind fights alongside the region.
Exactly. We can also group up all of the trolls, so take it away when it comes to the trolls.
All right. So armor trolls are A, and the other trolls are B. And why is that? The armor trolls, 110 armor is really a lot. It makes the trolls take less damage, and as we know, trolls are low leadership unit. And if they take less damage, it means that they keep their leadership higher for longer. So it means they stay for longer and they get their value. If trolls were unbreakable, they would be the most OP unit in the game because they have amazing weapon strength and stats for what they cost. And their only weakness is this leadership. And it would be also low armor, but these guys don't have low armor. Especially when we pair them with Archaeon or our Sorcerer Lord with ITP auras, they are our primary mass on the battlefield basically all the time. The Bile Trolls, we need to pay a mark for them, but when we want them, which is usually against cavalry or in blob fights, it is worth it all the time. They have amazing melee defense, they have amazing debuff, and the basic trolls are just the cheapest ones. And if they can stick and grind when we don't expect them to be shot, they can very much pay for themselves too.
Yeah, I agree. Trolls are a great unit. Weak on leadership, so you have to be careful not to get flanked, not to get terror routed. But other than that, they're very good.
Yeah, they just keep coming back, man. Like every time, even if they break, they just keep coming back. So that's why I love even the normal ones. If you're going for like just a Forsaken and Troll type of army. And for the Bile Trolls specifically, they are good. They're just a bit more niche-y. Just you take them for extra leadership bombing. Like if you were to stack all of the leadership bombs that we mentioned and all of the ones that are coming up, like you would get insane leadership bombing, especially into factions that worry about leadership a bunch. So they are also very good.
Agreed.
Next up, we
Okay.
got the Slaughter Boys.
The Slaughter Guard. This is probably the best unit in the game when it comes to grinding. Like it will kill literally everything, but they're very slow. They usually cannot get in a fight. Your opponent will avoid you and will never fight you. The thing that keeps them in C tier is the fact that they have spell resist. So your opponent can't really nuke them with spells. They have to kill them with cycle charging or very weak spells, like their spell value will not be as high. But yeah, basically you put them on a point, you leave them there, and they will hold it forever. And anything that comes, it will die. That's about it.
Also, every caster that has the magic missile stuff, like Amber Spear, Gaze of Mork, and stuff, just says to them, "Don't come to school tomorrow, or you'll get shot." And if they do like a side shot into them, they just penetrate the entire thing. Like Gaze of Mork even destroys this unit. So it is a bit unfortunate, even with their spell resistance, they can't live stuff like that. And also a counter to them is like breath attacks, right? So if they start the grind, your opponent can either breath attack you, which they probably will at some point, and also you just avoid them. They have like 28 speed or something. So
they're like the most powerful unit in melee of infantry that there is in the game.
Yeah.
But because they're so expensive and slow, your opponent, knowing that they're so powerful, they will just avoid them most of the time. But in the matchups where your opponent can't really avoid them, they're amazing, and that's their niche use and why they're in C tier.
I agree. Next up, we got the Blood Beasts. So, when it comes to the Blood Beasts, honestly, I am underutilizing Blood Beasts. I need to explore them more. They are okay. They are your secondary mark for your cavalry, which the main mark would probably be stuff like Hellstriders. And then these guys are your secondary mark that you would take, that you want something that is mass, that also deals a lot of damage, that isn't a troll, because trolls can rout, and these guys will actually stay in the fight. And you also get the benefit of a corn mark, which means that they are spell resistant. You're immune to stuff like Malkots, stuff like Buna, and so on. And they have very high weapon strength. The Monkeys are good. So yeah, they just go very well into B tier.
Yeah, I agree. I think these guys are very, very good. They're very good for the cost, very fast, high leadership. I mean, if you want the monstrous infantry that hits very hard and can actually get in a fight, then this is the perfect unit for it. So I think B tier.
It is just a high leadership and more weapon strength troll without regen. So when you don't really care about regen and just want a mass that is high leadership and has more punch, more DPS, you can go for them. They're still a very good unit on their own.
Yeah. And the speed is very important at 75.
Next one, Slaughter Brute.
Yeah, the Slaughter Brute is just as the other last big things that we put down in D tier. It is big, it is expensive, it doesn't really kill everything as fast as you would expect it to, and its model is absolutely huge. It is not tanky against missiles whatsoever. I don't believe if it has like amazing armor even on its own. Yeah, it's just a 2k ginormous monster that doesn't really do the job in its niches, and when the niche that it is supposed to be good in and it's not good in, it means that it's bad.
Well said.
Pretty much nothing to add. Yeah. Next up, we got the Chimeras. So
Okay, the
they go in
Chimeras.
D, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Gagpat's unit, go next. Okay, the Chimeras are actually very good. They're very good. They're ATR borderline S, in my opinion. Amazing single entity fighters. They have breath attacks to kill anything that you want to kill. Mainly infantry after the nerfs. They're immune to flanking, so you can have them surrounded and not routes. Very good stats. Manticore animations, amazing animations. They do what they do well. Unfortunately, they're a bit expensive at 1500, so you cannot throw them away. You have to be careful a little bit, so that's why they're A tier, because of that cost.
Yeah, they definitely would be S tier if their breath attack was still as broken as it was. But it is not anymore. Still, they're immune to flanking, very strong fighting monsters with a breath attack that is still strong. It is not as oppressive, but it is still strong against infantry. And the ROR is slightly more expensive than it was before, but it still got a fat heal that really makes it for a A tier unit that it is.
For the ROR, they changed the ability on the heal as well, how it works. Previously, it would have been, again, just S tier, just because you basically, inside of melee combat, you can pop the heal. Just because if like a random, let's say a cavalry unit is chasing it, they sometimes do the little like, I'm gonna chase you for a second and not actually hit you. And you could, if you spam the perfect predator thing, because it's technically not in melee combat, it's running away, and the other unit is technically not hitting it, it would actually be able to just click the button. And so you could, even in just about melee combat, have the unit fully heal, which is insane. But after the changes, after the breath, as they said, and after that specific change, we just feel like it is relatively on the same level. And also, very recently, more people, we just had Ulrich here too, kind of swaying us, that more people have started using just a normal one with 1500. You kind of don't really need the heal always, so they are just A and not S because of that combination of things. And yeah, next up we got the Dreadmaw.
Oh, the worm. The worm is still S tier. Even with it being limited to 1 and being 100 gold more expensive, it is still absolutely ridiculous that you can silence it. And if you just happen to click a 10 of a second quicker on the unburrow ability than
Bullshit.
the silence effect is on, it still goes under and still will annoy the hell out of your missile units. It is still extremely junky. It is still just its mechanics are still just broken.
I mean, it got a cost increase. It's not as good as it used to be, like 100 more. It's still not great. Like it's still only great against infantry, but what it does it so well that it's worth to be honest here.
Dude, I, as a Skaven player, I fucking hate this unit. And this unit can beat my Mutant Rat Ogre in 1v1 combat. Because for some reason it has like 65 melee attack and 35 melee defense. It is so dumb. It has so much armor. It can unburrow and ignore mechanics just because the way the game works. It unburrows and has a teleport. It has 100, almost 100 leadership, or I think 100 leadership. It is immune to flanking as well, so you can't technically terror route it. It can just randomly beat the SEs in melee combat, which it definitely shouldn't. It's just a stupid unit. This unit invalidates so many things.
And somehow it also has a small melee damage reflection, because why not?
Oh, true. Because literally, why not? And yeah, definitely should be changed on how it works. So, Navi, what do you think about our new additions from the previous patch?
Okay, I think the normal one is C tier. It's not very good, and mainly it's C tier because you always want to bring the ROR on, right? The ROR is unbreakable. It is not very fast. It's actually kind of slow for a Slanesh unit. It's A tier, by the way, for sure. It's basically a world beater if you get in melee combats. It will beat most things in the game, but its weakness is that it is very slow. It is not great against infantry for some reason. It doesn't kill fast enough, but against cavalry, single entities, monstrous infantry, it will destroy everything. And unless you shoot it down or you fully surround it to get in a real bad situation, it will absolutely destroy anything that attacks it.
Yeah, pretty much the definition of a Slanesh unit. Extremely high DPS versus basically everything. Hard to kill because of how fast it is. It is actually pretty fast, and it is unbreakable. So
you have shields for some reason, too.
Yes, and somehow they have shields, which is also like, why? Okay, just let this Slanesh be broken.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're right here.
Also to add, it is immune to Buna for some reason as well, because it doesn't have enough models. So this unit legit has no counters except high DPS gunpowder, right? And potentially arrows, but the arrows need to be super fast just because it's so fast that it can get into the cookie jar so fast.
Yeah, and when we say all that, you might wonder why they're not S tier, and they're still really, really expensive.
Yeah.
So they don't really cover the battlefield that much, and that's pretty much the only reason why they're not this high up.
Yeah. Next up, we got the Hellboys, the Hellstriders. So this is probably the most known unit that is on the walk roster that's not on the walk roster originally, right? This is the Hellstrider. Goes into S, the anti-large one goes into S, and the other one goes into B tier. So why the huge difference between them? Just because of the anti-large. Anti-large cab, it does take a mark, which is its technically only downside. It has poison, it has shields, it is super fast, it uptrades into basically everything, it's super cheap. auto take into anything that you have when you need light cav. And honestly, the only reason that it is so high up is that walk doesn't have a different unit to fill this role. So you are kind of forced to auto take Hellstriders to win the mobility fight if you need melee mobility. If there was an alternative unit that was a similar cost, and even if it didn't have anti-large, it could potentially replace the Hellstrider. But just because of the way that it works and the lack of other units that we have and mass, you just put the anti-large Hellstrider into S. When it comes to the other Anteaters, the other Anteaters are okay. They're still a Hellstrider. They still have their like feasting on, or I don't remember the name of the Soul Hunter, I think it's called, the buff that they get to leadership, charge speed, and so on.
And ward save.
And ward save, yeah. But the thing with them is they're more of an anti-dog unit. So in certain matchups, for example, like Undead especially, where you have dogs chasing you down and you're afraid of dogs a bit, you do take the Hell Scourges. But generally, you're totally fine just taking the anti-large one.
Yeah, they would be higher up than the Hell Scourges if it wasn't for the marks. The marks limit us for taking the spears basically all the time, the anti-large version. And in some cases, you just want the anti-infantry, which is the whip variant. But usually, it is not the case. It just pisses me off how strong the Slanesh units are.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think the Hell Scourges would be higher. Honestly, I would put them both on S tier because the Hell Scourges are just as good versus non-armor units. The advantage of the spears, in my eyes, is the AP values on the spears. But yeah, they're both really good. And as you said, your next best option when it comes to unmarked units are Chaos Knights, who are way more expensive. So you have to take them every time.
Pretty much almost double the price. The thing is, why I think they're also B is just because they're also more expensive. They're 50 more expensive.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's right.
Next up, we got the Doom Boys. Charix, what do you think?
Right. Yeah. One of my favorite units lately. They're mobile. They're high DPS. They got their anti-large quite recently. I think both are A tier. They're flying very mobile units. So if you care about playing kite and outplaying your opponent on the mobility, it is your main unit. Because when opponent is playing like full cavalry, you cannot countercharge the air unit unless you got the other unit that will get charged, and then you have something to recharge them. But if you get your own mobility as well, which is Hellstriders, then it is not really possible, and the Doom Knights really do get a lot of opportunities to pay for themselves. They're just very good, not only against large, but also against any smaller things.
Yeah. The ROR having the bombardment ability, you usually don't use it more than once, but the one use usually does sway the fight, especially if you want to like terror bomb something, and then you just go, you bombard like an infantry unit, and then you charge them from the back, they insta-rout. And everything else, they're just great units. They're in general just a good unit. Good stats.
Agreed. Always take the ROR first, then the armor ones.
Yeah, pretty much. And let's pack up the Chosen all together. What do you think, Navi?
Yeah. The Chosen are basically all C tier. They're very niche. They're just a better version and tankier version, basically, than the Chaos Warriors, which are already not a great unit. Yeah, if you want something very tanky to hold the point, you bring them, and that's about it. They're not good for much else, really.
They have their specific use, and that's why they're C tier. I think it would be also nice to mention all of the variants of the Chosen that we haven't got here. And basically all the variants would be either C tier if we somehow want the Zinch Chosen for the magic damage, or the Nurgle Chosen for I don't know what. Maybe it would go into D tier.
Probably because you're Broccoli fangirl and you really fangirl about the Nurgles.
Yeah, for some reason. Yeah, the Chosen are just slow. They're expensive, they're tanky, and they fill all the same role of sitting on the point and being unkillable, but can be still avoided and dealt with just like any other elite infantry.
Yeah, just die to spells too. Like unlike the cornet one, which at least have some sort of magic resist, elite infantry just isn't very good right now in the way that the game works. So they all go into niche. And next up, we got the ogres. So dragon ogres, the ROR summoners of rage. So when it comes to these guys, the normal dragon ogres, if Martin were here, he'd say they're great, but he's not here, so we're gonna overrule him and say they're garbage. They are at your anti-large, basically kind of monstrous cavalry unit, and they are really good if they like do a full surround on a unit, but in general they're just too expensive and relatively not worth taking. So you just have better stuff. Why would you take this instead if you can just mark a Hellstrider and just take it there? When it comes to the Summoners of Rage, we did put them into niche just because you get a free chain lightning out of them, and the better stats do make it so that they actually bonk anything that is really big that you really want dead. But they're just still super niche in what they do, and just not worth taking for 1850. For 1850 you can just take something else that is going to fill the role, for example like skull crushers and stuff. Like the only time that you do take them is that if you're like really out of marks and you need something that's anti-large. Other than that, you just basically never take them.
Yeah, you pretty much covered all that there is about them. We just have better alternatives with the marks. And even if we do not have marks, we still do have... We can still go for like a Chaos Knight with Lance and for Plague with Rust. Or we can just go for Trolls to be our must that is supposed to be anti-large and be way better with it than with this expensive and not too fast as well unit.
I would always take like a Chaos Knight over Dragon Ogres, or almost always.
Next up, we got the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth.
Alright, so the Shaggoth is just as good as the basic Dragon Ogres. It is 2k gold. I believe it is slightly faster than the basic Dragon Ogres, I'm not sure. It can deal with SCs, or at least that's what it is supposed to do. But I have had a game recently when it was Krogar on his Dino fighting one-on-one against the Shaggoth.
Oh yeah.
And he beat the hell out of him, which made me wonder why would you even go for a unit that cannot do what it's supposed to do. And it's pretty much the same case as the Korn Blood Behemoth or whatever it is. It is slightly harder to shoot at because of its model, but it is still just not good and very expensive.
Yeah, shitty version of Kolek, even shittier version of Kolek.
Yeah.
It's just about the unit.
Yeah. Next up, Navi, what do you say about our favorite boys, the Forsaken?
Now, this is a good unit if I've ever seen one. Like, this is probably the best infantry in the game, or like one of the best. They have amazing charge bonus. Their mass is insanely high for some reason. They don't care about taking charges. They will beat everything that doesn't have charge defense. Like, they will destroy them. Very fast 52 speed, or 45, I can't remember. Maybe the Slanesh ones are like 52. They're just amazing units, 46. And your go-to infantry in this faction. Oh yeah, 46.
Yeah, very cheap, very high DPS, armored, and what is most important, very fast infantry. That is ITP, that will not rout, has high mass, durable overall. We see this unit so often that is pretty much just as annoying as the Hellstriders. It is everywhere because it is so good.
Yeah, it also doesn't consume a mark, which is great for us on walk.
Yeah.
And even like most of the other versions of it are just not worth it just because that they cost more. it's so effective without the mark and with all of the things that you get for this unit. It is just plain S tier if there ever was one. The only annoying thing, honestly, about this unit is that it is another derivative of 750 inside of the walk roster. So every single time that you buy anything and put it into your army, you need to think about is it going to be 750 or like 375 when it comes to the Marauders. And so sometimes there's an awkward spend there to be had, which kind of was fixed with Bearmen, but sadly we don't have Bearmen here. I am very sad about that. So yeah.
I'm not sadly, be glad about it. It is very good that they're not here, and I thank CA every day for, well, I would thank CA every day if not the fact that they're technically not restricted even in the restricted roster. But yeah, let's focus on the tier list.
Not back noises.
Yeah. Next up, let's cover all of the Marauder units first.
All right. Basic Marauder is A tier. It is just a cheap mid shield that you can go for. Has shield, pretty good anti-kite. All of the other version of the shielded Marauders or the god specific would be D tier, just because why would we take the god specific version of a Marauder with shield? And they remain when they are. The great weapon would be B. Sometimes we want this cheap AP to trade well into something that we expect armor, and we just want more meat that can trade quite well into it. And it's like pretty much it.
Lots of HP, relatively good unit. Removing rage and making it cost -25 is good. Just your main meat shield inside it. You take these units to stand there so that all of your other units that are like monstrous, let's say the trolls or I don't know, the blood beasts and so on, can get saturated in that fight and then just win that fight because they're the meat shield that takes all of the damage for it.
Yeah, and they still trade pretty well in their cost department, so they're good.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Next up, we got all of the Chaos Warriors. Take it away now.
Okay. Chaos Warriors. Unfortunately, this unit is C tier, all of them, because they're supposed to be a very good unit, right? They're armored, they have shields, they're supposed to be able to grind well. Unfortunately, they do none of these things well. They cannot grind, like their stats are too bad. If you see everyone who wants to make a unit look good, they put them against Chaos Warriors because there's a reason for it. They never trade good into almost anything. They don't hold well. They have only 9k HP. They have high melee defense. On paper, they should be doing better, but they're very low HP, just holds them back. And they're also very slow, 28 speed. Just a C tier unit, just because sometimes you want to bring them, but like 90% of the time you just want Forsaken for the same cost, or cheaper, like from the AP variant.
Yeah, the Forsaken are so strong they pretty much take the place of all the Chaos Warriors. Even if you want, if you want something that is AP or anti-large, I think that we could think about putting the halberd at least in the B tier, because sometimes we want this halberd to sit on the point and scare away everything that is large, and it is still fairly cheap, so even if it dies, it is not this bad. But I pretty much agree with the rest. Sometimes we can do it to armor check the enemy, but we still have the Forsaken that are armored and the Chaos Knights that we will cover in a sec, and they can fill the role of the armor checking. But yeah, I would put the halberd in B and agree with the rest on the C.
Yeah, it's fine to put the halberd. They have like the anti-large option.
It is an absolute travesty that you pay 100 gold more for anti-large and worse stats than just a Chaos Warrior. Like, that is unreal that CA doesn't fix this unit. Same thing with the Great Weapon. You should be paying way less for the difference in that they work. If these guys were like 50 gold each cheaper, this would be much better. But you do want the halberd as like a mid-late or a late game summon, because what is dominating in the mid game. The mid game is dominated by mostly cab summons, and so if you have something that can just scare off everything from a point, you just grab one of these guys in your reinforcement army and then summon them in, put them on a point, and that point is relatively safe for you. So that's how you use the Chaos Warrior halberds.
Yep.
And next up, we got Aspiring Champions. So this unit is amazing. Like, this unit is really, really good. It's in A tier. They have magic damage, they have low model count, they have silver shields, they're super high armored, like 140, right, armor for them. They're not the slowest unit in the roster, and all of this combined, just with high HP on each single model, you basically have them live forever and then just grind it out against everything there is. So they go into A tier. Just be careful with them if you're facing an Amber Spear caster that is like looking at you funny from an angle. They will insta-die to that. Same with the Gaze of Mork. Like, the magic missiles, for some reason, just destroy these guys because of their high damage, and then the penetration just finishes them off. Other than that, you're totally safe taking these guys if you want a unit that is not going to move and is going to grind out for the entire game.
Yep,
Yeah.
agreed.
This is what Chaos Warriors would like to be, but they're not.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, we got the Demon Spew.
Yeah, so as we said, the Forsaken are really, really good. But the thing is, we can only bring 5 Forsaken in the army. And this guy is also a Forsaken. So it makes him C tier. Sometimes, I mean, we can bring it. It is still a Forsaken unit, just as we said. I'm not sure if it takes a mark of Nargo, does it?
It does.
It does.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the reason why it isn't even 1 tier higher. It costs more. It actually trades well, because, as I'm saying for one more time, it is a Forsaken, but it just takes a mark and a slot of a pretty much the most powerful unit in the roster. So usually there's just no need to bring it.
Yeah, you do get the Swarm of Flies, which is -5 melee attack for the area of effect that it is in, but it's not worth the 1000 upgrade. You're paying 250 for this unit, which is a Forsaken, and it costs some. You're paying a mark plus 250 more just to get that as an upgrade. It's just better, cost effective to just bring a normal Forsaken.
You just don't have to put a mark on Forsaken, they're already so good.
Yeah, pretty much true. Navi, what do you think about Mirror Guard compared to them?
Oh, Mirror Guard are just the Chaos Warrior, unfortunately, so they go on CTR. They have all the problems Chaos Warriors have. They're a bit better when it comes to melee stats, but also more expensive. They have the physical resist aura for your lords, but it's like never worth bringing, honestly. And also it's a mark. You don't want to spend marks on infantry most of the time in this roster.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing that happens with all the infantry. It's just not worth marking them compared to your other options. So they go into the niche one. Yeah.
Honestly, I would put them in D tier because they're like Chaos Warriors.
They're still faster than the basic Chaos Warriors, which is like their main weakness. And I feel like that would be the only reason that they have some niche of use, and they would stay in C tier.
Super high melee defense too. Super high melee defense.
Yeah.
They also get the bonuses of the Slanesh mark, so they're definitely like not full on garbage compared to
True. That is correct.
So next up we got the Chaos Chariots. So when it comes to the normal chariot is pretty cheap and relatively good for what it does. You can sometimes put a mark on them just to have them do a specific task, like let's say Nurgle, to just get poison applied and so on. The Razor Gore chariots are, in my opinion, just a bit better, but they still go into just the okay bracket, not the super good bracket. The Razor Gore chariots are so high when it comes to their charge bonus as well as their just melee attack and armor piercing, that they weapon strength, pardon, not melee attack, that when they charge, they kill the unit that they charge, and that's what you want from a chariot. You don't want it to limp in, then try to turn around, get stuck on like a random mass unit, and then not do the thing that this was supposed to do. While Razor Gores just go in and do that, but the downside is that they are way more expensive, so you have to babysit them a lot. Cycle charging is your main tool to use with these guys. But yeah, super good unit.
I agree. Gorbeasts are a little bit better. The normal chariots, no AP against like something like Udels, they're pretty good. But in general, I think the AP one is your go-to because you have Forsaken for non-armored infantry, right? So usually you bring a chariot for the armored infantry.
Yeah, the basic chariot is okay because it is very cheap, and when you want non-AP, even if it dies, it really doesn't hurt, and it can really annoy your opponent a lot. And the Gore Beast is just a straight up upgrade that you can go way more often to clear up the infantry, and it's pretty much the Lion Chariot without the missile resist. So like it is okay.
Next up, Charix, we got the Manticore.
Yeah, the Manticore is a really good SE. It is especially good as a mount, but where it's not a mount and it can rampage, it is B tier. It is 800 gold only. It has terror. It is the cheapest terror. I'm not sure if like in the game overall. It has the animations that even if you net it in air, it just dodges most of the missiles, which is horrendous. But it is still not hard to hit it while like it's flying into our Skaven Slave Slingers or anything, and rampage it into the ground and kill it very, very fast because it is not too tanky when it lands, but because it is cheap and can annoy our opponent a lot and actually do a lot of damage when it doesn't die and gets ignored. It deserves a B tier.
Yeah, it's your like Lord Snipe or like expensive shooting snipe or artillery potentially also snipe tool. But the main downside why it's B and not A, it's like borderline A, but the rampage is such a disadvantage. If it was just one level of rampage, it would be better. But with 2 levels of rampage, you're just gonna lose it to something random that just shoots into the air.
I agree. It's an amazing unit and it does have the rampage, but I think if it wasn't for the chimeras, I would put them A for sure. No questions about it. But now that you have the chimera options, a lot of the time you want to go more expensive and AP. That just pushes them down a little bit.
Yeah, completely agreed. If there weren't chimeras, then they would definitely be A. Next
Giant.
Giant.
Okay. I have the Giant in B tier. I think it's borderline C. Like, the Giant is very good at fighting in melee, but he's very weak to missiles. He's relatively slow. He's not the slowest unit in the game, but he's very slow. I mean, if you can get him in combat, he's amazing. If you can't, he's useless. Does what he's supposed to do, and that's it. Not much more. He's also pretty cheap, what, 1300, I believe?
13 or 14? Let me just
Yeah, it's 1400.
1400.
He does the job of countering any SE play that there is, or any kind of blob. If there is an SE, you just throw in Giant, and it with its amazing melee attack and weapon strength, it really kills the SE. But as you said, it is slow, big, and weak to missiles. So it is very borderline C. Like I would consider putting it down, but the value it can get for not too much money against single entities makes me feel okay with him being B.
Yeah, I'm sad that we didn't get Etten. Honestly, Etten is what Giant is supposed to be, like with the bonus stuff with healing and so on. Such a good upgrade, and for just like 100 gold more. But yeah, we sadly don't have that, and big bonk stick, sometimes good, sometimes bad. Relatively B, okay. Next up, we got all the Chaos Knights. So when it comes to the Chaos Knights, we'll start with the pure garbage. Pure garbage goes into the garbage. This unit just shouldn't exist, at least in the way that it currently does. It doesn't have enough models to make the charge bonus work good. It, for some reason, has terrible mass with 1500. so they just don't do anything on the charge. It has the buff that is supposed to give it, like the murderous charge or whatever, apocalyptic charge, honestly, but it just doesn't actually do anything. If you pop it and then charge, it still is like 10 times worse than the murderous charge of the Skull Crushers. This unit is just trash, pure trash. They do nothing.
Yeah, this unit is apocalyptic bad. It should have more mass and more weapon strength, and maybe then they will be okay, but they're just garbage for now.
When it comes to the other ones, so the Knights Lances actually go into B tier. They are your go-to, I would say, knights, right? The normal knights also technically go into B tier. I would maybe put the normal sword and board knights into C, like they're super borderline C compared to the lances ones, just because both are shielded. These guys have good charge bonus. They're kind of slow, which is their main downside. So they're slow and clunky. You do sometimes also want to mark these guys, which is very nice. In certain matchups, you go either Khorne or Tzeentch, for example, into Wood Elves, so you get either magic damage or fire damage, and spell resistance or barrier, depending on what you're going for. But overall, okay unit, in my opinion.
Yeah, they have, especially the Lances have crazy charge bonus if they get their charge. They do not cost too much. They're 100 gold cheaper than the Dragon Princes. For their price, they really do the job of the armored cav. If you want the armored cav, it is just really good.
I mean, their HP is insane at almost 9k. Very high armor, 130, I believe. Shields. Like, basically, I think this is one of the most underrated units, and when you have an extra mark, I always put it on my Chaos Knights, make them either Nurgle or Khorne. Unless you play against Wood Elves, then you take Tzeentch usually. But yeah, they're an amazing unit overall. Very tanky, and by the way, the sword and board variant will grind down very well.
Yeah, they
The
have
Nurgle-
fight melee defense.
Yeah, if you make them Nurgle, they will actually beat Cold War Knights on a grind. So
Interesting.
they're very good.
Very nice. Okay, next up we got Spawn.
So the Chaos Spawn, they're
The
low
non-
armor.
Yeah, the no fan of Chaos Spawn is about to rate the Chaos Spawn. Come on. So what's up, Charix?
Yeah, I would put the basic one in C and the RR in B, which my colleagues probably do not agree right there. And like they have no armor and they are not this cheap. Yes, they are unbreakable, but even if they get into a 1v1 fight versus like Empire Spearmen, just because they don't have too much stats and low armor, they would trade really bad. I don't know, maybe I have just bad experience with them. I do like the Tzeentch variant and the ROR with the armor sundering and the ROR with Fizz Res and also armor sundering, but I just don't like the other version of it.
Yeah, we definitely disagree, and they could both go into B just because 170 weapon strength on a unit is great. Also, they do not have armor. That's true, they have 10 armor, but they also are your second mass compared to trolls that you take that is unmarked. So in certain matchups, if you need a bodyguard for, let's say, Festus or I don't know, some sort of lord that is on foot, you just take them, you put them there, and they are your one capture rate because they're unbreakable. They're not gonna run. They can saturate into your marauders or your halberds and just help them not get charged. They're just good. And as Charix said, I do love also putting Tzeentch marks on them just because of the armor sundering. Armor sundering is such a good thing to add to them.
I agree with the Tzeentch mark. It's amazing. They make Chaos Spawn really good. The normal ones, honestly, I'm also not a big fan of, but at the same time, like when I want to bring Chaos Spawn, I'm thinking, okay, low armor, right? But low armor factions are either really fast and they avoid you, or they have missiles and they shoot down your spawn. And so I tend to not bring these guys ever, but
Yeah, let's move the basic one to C tier. Come on.
God damn it. Okay. Well, yeah, Weird Spawn, great unit. Like,
Yeah, they also have terror, which is pretty nice.
yeah, so true. So, when it comes to our boys, the Warhounds, where do we stand, Navi?
I will let Zarix take that one. I know he likes the dogs a bit more than me.
Do I? I am not sure if I like them.
I don't.
They're cheap, they're mobile, and like they route to everything when they get charged by anything. The poison ones can be okay. I like going after stuff and debuffing stuff, but at the same time we have Hell Striders that already apply poison to everything. So like they're okay. They're B. Both of them are B. They're just cheap doggos. Not too much.
Yeah, I am a fan of dogs more than my two colleagues here. Dogs are your defense, cheap defense for your skirmishers. That's how you most of the time use them, or you make them a squad with your Hellstriders, so that they can potentially eat the charge and die, so that your Hellstriders can actually win the fight and do a good charge on them. Also, harrying stuff if your opponent isn't properly, let's say, defending their backline. Dogs can get in there, just nom 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 onto their artillery, and then you don't care about the 400 gold unit either way. Also, I distinctly remember my first new player tournament where I was against the dwarf player in the finals, and I did like a plague of rust on his iron drakes and had a dog unit just go in there and absolutely murder them completely. So I will always be a fan of dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
well,
only times I would bring them is against artillery or maybe skirmish units like Wave Watchers. That's the only two use cases I use them for.
And Navi, let's finish it up with the hell cannons. What do you say?
Okay. The hell cannons are amazing. We have them on A tier. Basically, you can use them in every matchup almost. They can destroy infantry. They can pressure the assist to tax micro your opponent. They can shoot cavalry. They can shoot anything really, and it's really hard to dive a faction that is so good in melee. So shutting it down without magic, it's very very hard. So yeah, at least a borderline S.
yeah, I would put both hell cannons in S actually. When you think about playing against Warriors of Chaos, the first thing that you gotta prepare for is usually the hell cannon. So you either have to go for an army that doesn't have any good targets for it, so you can just allow it and have capture weight while hell cannon is not doing too much into your skinks or Soros, like for example, or you go as Hyles, let's say, for a Soul Quench caster to snipe the hell cannon. But it is also an investment all the time when you play against Walk. You really need to be prepared against this unit, because if you're not, it will destroy your entire army. And I know this from Autopsy too well. This is very powerful unit.
Yeah, also don't be like Sipa and bring it in the main army. Bring it in the reinforcements. If you're not 100% sure your opponent cannot shut it down, like doing just that small swap, and you see that the opponent doesn't have a counter spell or something that can go for your hell cannon, just bring it out as your first summon and then start farming them. Also, the crew being unbreakable is crazy. It getting the bonus abilities for like the area effect and also speed makes it so that if you're really looking well at the unit, you can technically dodge the magic missiles like Shems and Amber Spear and Soul Quench stuff with just demounting it, but that definitely does take skill. But it's a borderline S unit, just a great thing that like kind of completes the roster in the threat that it can bring.
I would be happy to put ROR in S.
Yeah, that's
Let's
fair.
go.
Let's go. Upgrades, live upgrades. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is our final tier list. There were even changes during the live cast, so yeah, just a couple of them have changed from our final tier list before the video. Definitely do check out the rest of our content. Thank you to both Charix and Navi for their taking the time in joining me here today for the walk tier list, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments as well. Peace.